Welcome. Welcome to the Real Health Rebellion Radio. I'm Dr. Ron, and I am accompanied by my dear friend and fellow rebel and co-host, Dr. Jerry Smith. Welcome, everybody. And thank you for tuning in and taking the time out of your day to join this movement here on YouTube and Rumble. We just love having you here, and we hope to have some good information for you today, because Dr. Jerry and I feel that people are more confused about their health than ever before. Conflicting headlines, pharmaceutical marketing, you hear it all night long, and they disguise it as science, and it's not. It is not science. So we've gotten together with Dr. Will Wong to give you the tools to take back your health, and to break down science and tell the truth. We're going to tell the truth even if it's uncomfortable to us. So thank you for being part of the movement. Tell a friend, like us on Substack, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, become a subscriber. And let's introduce and bring on my dear friend, Dr. Jerry.
Thank you. We have an exciting show for you today, and it's going to open up a lot of eyeballs. And you have to get a little bit proactive when it comes to your health. Unfortunately, most people spend more time planning a surprise party for their spouse than they do their own health.
Well said. Okay, so while he's taking care of the door, I'll take care of the introduction here, because today we're going to be talking about, do you really trust the supplements in your cabinet?
Program.
Okay. You might not realize who owns them. Over the last decade, ladies and gentlemen, major pharmaceutical and food conglomerates have quietly bought dozens of companies, nutraceutical companies. That includes Nestle, Bayer, Procter & Gamble, Clorox, Unilever, Blackstone, and others. And why does that matter to you? Well, because we feel that it's going to lead to manufacturing shortcuts. They're going to go for cheaper raw materials. There's going to be the loss of practitioner grade standards. They're going to outsource the production to third world countries. There's going to be fewer third-party purity tests. And lastly, but not leastly, there's going to be more marketing and less science. So this is another example of what we have been preaching and talking about, how the medical industrial complex absorbs anything that actually works. Believe that. So they want to eliminate the competition. They want to influence the consumer. They want to control and regulate and create monopolies. And then pretty soon you'll be seeing them in the longevity and anti-aging market, because there's billions of projected revenue there, Dr. Jerry.
100%. And, I remember way back when in the 80s, there was a company called Nutraceutical, and they were bought up. And then their enzymes, weren't as effective afterwards, because they diluted it and they want you to take the purple pill, Nexium.
Exactly. And once these big companies get involved and they start outsourcing, and they remove the formulas that were generated by practitioners themselves, they lower the potency to reduce the cost. They use synthetic additives. They use more fillers. And so what does Dr. Jerry and other practitioners notice? I'm going to talk for him and then let him comment. Patients don't respond the same. They get more upset stomachs.
Well,
these forms get downgraded. Go ahead.
Yeah, have you ever looked at the porta potty in the bottom there? The pills are out unscathed.
Yeah. So this is what happens when the big companies get involved, and you get less of the product, and it's not as potent, and it doesn't work. Sure, it doesn't work, because if it doesn't work, what do you do, Jerry?
You punt.
Go get a drug.
Exactly.
So do you have anything to talk about on these nutraceutical companies? I have a few notes about them.
Well, number one, they can't be trusted. So that's a big pearl that you should walk away with. And the next time you're in the health food store, before you even go, if you're looking for specific nutrients, I would look up, do a search and see which supplements are by independent vitamin companies that, are still have integrity and morality. I would stay away from the big conglomerates.
I agree. I agree. I would also look for something called excipients. That's the stuff they add into the pills, like seed oils. Look for seed oils. You don't want them.
It's
Malto.
Nutraceutical hamburger helper.
Yeah, that'll get you sicker. Than you're better off not taking anything. Maltodextrin, soybean oil, titanium dioxide, and you do not want artificial sweeteners. So you're going to have to be proactive and look at these labels. And if you have an old label that you really like, compare it with the new label. And I'm going to make a statement here, and I don't know whether I'm going to get in trouble for it or not, but I would avoid Amazon for most supplements because they have such a high rate of counterfeiting.
Well, not only that, it's stored in a warehouse where there's tremendous Wi-Fi. Because I had an actual incident where one of my patients bought a product from me called Pure Synergy, and he had no problems with it. And for whatever reason, it was during COVID, he ran out, and he got the same thing from Amazon. He said he got sick as a dog. And I believe it was from the Wi-Fi signaling, imprinting in the actual supplements.
So, all right. So the message is nutraceuticals, vitamins, minerals, supplements have been bought up by big conglomerates. You have to do your homework before you go buy them. See who owns the company that's making the vitamin that you want. Okay. And choose a smaller company. Choose one that is not a conglomerate. And let your body be the final answer. Stay awake, please. If you're not noticing the benefits, chuck it.
You want to get food-based supplements whenever possible. You don't want synthetic fractionated vitamins.
All right. So that's the message. Short and sweet. There's this movement by the conglomerates. A lot of people don't know about it. They think they're still buying their Centrums or whatever, but they're not. They're buying who knows what's in them because they're not tested. And I used to like a company called Douglas Labs when I was in practice. Soroil, I loved them, but they all been bought up by private equity companies.
It's a big market, and they want to get their hands on it.
Yeah, and if you're used to like one a day and Flintstone vitamins, Bayer owns them now, and we'll talk more about Bayer later. And Bayer is noted for their aggressiveness.
They probably put aspirin in the supplements now, so you don't get a headache.
And just as in case you use Garden of Life products or Vital Proteins or Pure Encapsulations, they've downgraded the manufacturing practices because you know what? They're now owned by Nestle. I mean, so that's the message. Please wake up and know that this is not just us saying it. The Food and Drug Administration has sued a lot of these companies, and they have been charged and convicted for distributing and manufacturing adulterated and misbranded dietary products. I have a whole list of them if you're interested in the court rulings from back as far as 2012. The FDA sued manufacturers that substituted ingredients without changing the labels. And this all matters. Cutting corners for your health. It's going to affect you. So you have to be proactive. So please refer this episode to your friends. Let them know what we're talking about. All right, so that's that part of it. Now the second part of it, and why all this matters is, what do you do when you go to a doctor? What do you do when your doctor says, I want to get this test or that test or whatever? Dr. Jerry, you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, real simplistic, just get down to basic foundational issues. Number one, you want to ask, will any of my dental uh, health history have any impact on my chief complaints that I'm presenting to you today? Because unfortunately, the medical school's curriculum doesn't include a lot of dental information. So you can have root canals, you can have third molar extraction sites, you could have mercury fillings. These are all potential toxic, what I call them, waste sites. And the bottom line is the mercury fillings in your mouth leak 24/7, and mercury can mimic any disease process. So that's a really important concept to understand. And like I said, probably 98% of the physicians, it's not in their vocabulary to even consider the dental complex as part of the etiology of your problem. Also, uh, if he's going to recommend any tests, you have to ask him, will the tests diagnose the root cause of my problem? In other words, autoimmune disease and these other disease processes, there's an underlying cause. Unfortunately, most of the blood tests that are done today are showing you how the body reacts to the splinter or initiator, and it's not giving you the actual cause of the disease process. So they're painting on rust, so to speak, not getting to your real source of your problem. And again, you have to bring to the dentist or the medical doctor's attention if you have any root canals in your mouth, because they're toxic. They're embalmed organs, and they give off toxic chemicals. So like hydrogen sulfide, for example, mercaptans, thioethers, and these chemical toxins literally will migrate through your lymphatic system and get down into your thyroid, your thymus, your heart, your prostate. And again, these are things that traditional medical doctors will never include. And, again, mercury is another major issue. You can get galvanic currents. If you go to a chemistry class in high school and you say, what do you have if you have two dissimilar metals and you have an electrolyte? Oh, you got a battery. Well, the mouth is no different. If you have a gold crown and mercury fillings in your mouth and then you have saliva, that's an electrolyte. That galvanic current can cause immune problems. But again, they don't connect the dots on these things. So, the name of the game is if you have blood pressure problems. For example, one of my patients had some kidney problems, and I recommended that he get his renin tested in the blood test. And guess what? It came back excessively high. So traditional, medical doctors, when they write a script for a blood test, they're not going to check for renin. And that was an underlying issue. So the key is be aware, that there's other, situations that you want to take into consideration and evaluation of your health. That's all. And again, if you're taking polypharmacy, are the drugs compatible with one another? Again, traditional doctors, you go to 4 different doctors to each writing a prescription, and no one's checking to see if all the drugs will work in unison. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, that's really great. And that's why we always talk about being the CEO of your own body. You have to be proactive, ladies and gentlemen, because most physicians are employed. They only are allowed 12 minutes with you. And that's why you have to question every test. You have to question every medication. And you have to ask, why do I need this test? Is there a safer alternative than taking a test with radioactivity? What are the risks? What are you going to learn from this? Is it going to change anything? And Dr. Jerry said, what is the root cause of my problem? Ask about your medications. Ask about a non-drug option. Ask about the side effects, short-term and long-term. Ask if you need to take this drug for the rest of your life, which the pharmaceutical companies would love. Ask what happens when I stop taking the drug. And as Dr. Jerry said, the polypharmacy, does this drug interact with anything else I'm taking? So if your doctor says, or your healthcare provider, or your nurse, whoever you're seeing, well, we're going to check everything. It's a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. If they say this drug is safe, it has no side effects, as my pastor would say, he would say in Greek, that's crapeo. Insurance wants this. It's standard protocol. I don't have the time to explain it to you today. Red flags, red flags. Medicine is the only industry where you, the consumer, do not ask the price, you do not read the contract, and you do not question the service. That should end today. That should end today.
Yeah, and plus you're going to go over your 12-minute mark for your visit. You're going to be irritated.
Right. And more blood pressure pills. So look, we talked about nutraceutical companies, right, being bought out. We want you to be active, proactive, take care of your own body, ask questions. Are you getting to the root of the problem? Is this medication the safest? What are the side effects? Is it compatible with what else I'm taking? Could my teeth have anything to do with it? Is it my dental health? Do I have periodontal disease? Do I have root canals? Could any of this be the root cause of my suffering? I just learned from Dr. Jerry before we went on air that if you don't have good vertical height in your teeth, it interferes with your epiglottis closing. Your epiglottis can, if it doesn't close, water can get into your trachea.
Or even just saliva.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're coughing and a lot of times and clearing your throat and you feel like you can't get your breath, I mean, how many people would know that could be caused from your bite, from a dental condition?
Especially if people have dentures. Dentures should only last 8 to 10 years, and the back teeth wear down. When your back teeth wear down, you lose vertical height between your upper and lower jaw, and that causes compression of your spine. So you're going to get bulged discs, herniated discs, and the epiglottis, when you swallow, has to form a seal on your trachea. And if it doesn't, you're going to get saliva in there and you start choking.
So as I put up on the screen now, the next time you hear about a new miracle drug, ask who funded the study. If it's the company selling it, be skeptical. If the people that signed off on the study are employees or have stock in the company, which they should disclose, be skeptical. Well, that's easy. I can't say that with my new teeth, Dr. Jerry. Be skeptical.
10 times fast.
Okay, so now let's go on to something that I really want to talk about today, and then that's why this show is so important, because we could change gears. There was everybody talked about, well, let me do it backwards. A couple weeks ago, I told you about the Alzheimer study, that it was faked. They faked the MRI images, ladies and gentlemen. So for over 20 some years, we've been chasing amyloid plaques. Drug companies are trying to come up with drugs. None of them work. And they forgot to go after the root cause. So now, and I don't know that you're going to even hear about it, but you should ask about it. The problem is not in the cortex. Dr. Jerry knew this a long time ago. I must give him credit for this. The problem is in the cerebellum. So I heard one person say, the way we've been treating Alzheimer's is, and not finding the causes, like when you think of the first sign of a house fire, is only after the kitchen and the porch have burned completely away, then you say you have a house fire. That's what they've been doing with Alzheimer's disease, ladies and gentlemen. So we will do a whole podcast on the cerebellum. That's your backup brain. That's where a lot of activity happens. And when that starts to atrophy or shrink, you start having cognitive decline. And that occurs years and years before the cortex, anything happens in the cortex. So before we get into a full discussion of this, I would like you to just let you know that creatine is an important supplement for the cerebellum, because the cerebellum, like your heart, burns tremendous amounts of ATP. Creatine will help, and balance training will help. So this goes along with fake research and fake information, ladies and gentlemen. And then I talked to you and Dr. Wang about the GLP-1 inhibitors, and they say how safe they are and you can lose weight and it doesn't cause cancer. Well, you're going to see more and more of this crap peo as time goes on. But there's a black box warning on Ozempic and similar drugs, and that says it possibly could cause thyroid tumors. In England, these over 125 people have died. Did you hear about that? Reports of serious damage to various kinds of these drugs are coming from all other countries, including the US. Okay, so they are not as safe as you think. Now, today, this morning, and that's why I was so fired up, the American Academy of Family Practice says, well, we looked at these drugs and there's no extra incidence of cancer when you take these drugs. Well, let me just tell you that the study was designed to fail. It had limited long-term data and only followed the people for up to 2 years. You know, it takes more than that to develop cancer. So it was insufficient. There was publication bias with the study. There was the way they ascertained whether a person had cancer varied from researcher to researcher. There were other issues involved. I'm not going to go into the technicality of it, but just let you know that there were lots of issues with that study, but you're not going to hear about the issues. You're going to hear about, oh, you can take your shots. You could take your shots. There's no long-term cancer.
And also, you have to mention the fact that they have ghostwriters for the pharmaceutical that literally write it up and then pay a doctor to put his name on the darn article.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pay for play. And then one that Dr. Jerry and I bet you we've been talking about that as long as we have known each other, which is about 7 years or so. We've been talking about glyphosate. We've been talking about Roundup. And doesn't something hit the papers this morning also about glyphosate? They have retracted a study that was put out in the year 2000 that said it was safe. The retraction states that the article's integrity has collapsed entirely, citing undisclosed corporate authorship, omitting carcinogenicity, that's cancer, carcinogenicity data, financial conflicts of interest, and a complete failure of the surviving author to respond to any investigation. And Dr. Jerry knows, and he predicted this was written by ghostwriters.
Well, not only they made over $5 billion a year. It was introduced in 1974, and it's the leading herbicide worldwide. I mean, that's why they paid off, politicians and agencies around the world to, look the other way with this stuff. Bayer paid out, I think, $11 billion in the verdict so far. And I think they're looking to jump ship because they can't continue, when there's over 100,000 lawsuits against them. And the remaining, I think there's like 50,000 are still pending. But, when you have that type of statistics, that there's no transparency, that you got a problem chemical. And it causes leaky gut and leaky brain. So you talk about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, neurological problems. When you open up the blood-brain barrier, the viruses, the heavy metals, the chemicals, they get into your brain. And I think this is the reason why you get amyloid plaque, because they showed on autopsy 30% of the people had amyloid plaque and had no clinical symptoms. So the amyloid plaque is not really the underlying cause of the problem. That's just a easy target. It's basically heavy metals, glyphosate, viruses, and chemicals that get into the brain that causes the neurons to misfire and create the problems.
Right. And the amyloid, similar to the cholesterol, goes in there to heal, to stop further damage. it wasn't there by itself to cause the problem, the neurodegenerative disease. My brother, God rest his soul, had a farm and lived off of well water, and he refused to have it tested or whatever. Don't we that's another story, but he's in a farm area where they use pesticides and herbicides and fertilizer.
Yeah.
He died from Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
And I think he got poisoned with glyphosate.
No doubt about it.
And just take a look at this rat. It's not a human being, but that's how they test drugs. Over 10 cancers are linked to safe glyphosate dosages: lung, liver, thyroid, kidney, mammary, which is the breast, skin, pituitary, adrenal, large intestine, small intestine, spleen, testes, that's your testicles, your thymus, where your immunity is, all associated with that, with glyphosate.
But it's safe. Minor side effects, that's all.
So, you know what, Jerry? We have a little bit of time. Why don't you talk about something we talked about off air about the statins?
Well, statins are wonderful drugs, other than the fact that it causes rhabdomyolysis, breakdown of skeletal muscle, type 2 diabetes, shrinks your brain, causes dementia, causes liver and kidney damage. Other than that, it's a wonderful drug.
Well, again, all the my camera stopped working. All of the studies were all faked. They were bought and paid for by the companies making these statin drugs, and we've talked about them. I've done a podcast called the Cholesterol Derangement Syndrome, and Dr. Wong has done it. Dr. Jerry has done shows on it. But I guess the clear message today is please take care of yourself. Your health depends on it.
Yeah, they estimate 92 million people in the U.S. are taking statin drugs. That's a crazy number.
How many?
92 million.
Wow. You know, the sad part.
Yeah, the sad part is that your doctors, are 20 years behind the what you call it, the literature, and they're not warning you about certain foods you shouldn't take with statin drugs because it can adversely affect the levels in your bloodstream. One of course is grapefruit because it inhibits an enzyme in your liver that normally breaks it down. So even excess alcohol creates a problem because it causes liver damage. And again, the statin levels are going to be higher than normal. So,
well, but again, Dr. Jerry, it goes to your point that you make every day of the week. It doesn't get to the root cause of the problem. The problem is not cholesterol, right? It's inflammation.
Yep.
And some of these doctors and cardiologists included, because I go to see them with different people, they do not even order a C-reactive protein, a SID rate, a homocysteine level, a reverse T3. I'm surprised that they don't even know what a reverse T3 level is. And you talk about thyroid function.
Well, don't they, every time they order a test, it costs money, and I think it's deducted from their commissions.
Yeah, well, the sad part again, most of them are on salary, so they don't get to deal with that. But their boss does, so he's probably telling them don't order a reverse T3 or don't order a testosterone level. That's an expensive test.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a shame because they hand it out like candy, and it's gotten to the point where I went out to dinner one time, and the other couple, he was a medical doctor, worked for the VA, and he said he had to write a certain number of prescriptions for statin drugs a day. He had to.
He had to, yeah. And that was the same thing during the scamdemic. They had to use certain drugs told to them by the hospital administrators.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the woman I was dating at the time, she started to lose her memory. She was teaching for 20 years. She said, like, all of a sudden couldn't remember things that I used, like, writing my name. And I said, "Are you on statin drugs?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "You better get the heck off of it because, if you catch it early enough, your body can rebound and repair."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And regenerate. That's a new thing we're all learning. The body has the ability to regenerate. We just never gave it the right tools to do it, and we didn't give it the time.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Ron, and with my friend and co-host, Dr. Jerry Smith, the brilliant Dr. Smith. I hope you learned something today. And if you had, pass on this streaming podcast, which is called The Real Health Rebellion Radio. We're on YouTube, 11 o'clock, and then it's on there afterwards, but it's live for at 11. As soon as we figure out the software, we'll start taking questions and answers. So hopefully we'll give you answers. We're on Rumble Live. And if we get a few more people subscribing to us on Substack, we'll be able to be live on Substack also. And we need 2 more on Facebook. When we could be live on Facebook. So we're getting there, and we're very grateful for this. So I don't have anything else, Dr. Jerry. I think we'll see everybody next week.
That'll be our last show for before the holidays, right?
Yeah. That'll be it until the 2026.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jerry, and we're going to sign out. Have a great day, everybody. Be kind to someone, do something good, and have an attitude of gratitude.
Take care. God bless.